Hey everyone, it's your boy, Sheriff's Firearms. You know, in case you forgot who I was. Alright, so to set the stage for this video, we gotta back this train on up. Just back it on up all the way to 2019. So the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, boom, Joe Biden gets elected. The ATFs know he's coming in the office. All the anti-gun commies are like, hey, ATF, here's the green light. Break the back of the Second Amendment community. Joe Biden's coming into office. He's literally going to sign anything we put in front of him. It's going to be great. We're going to break the Second Amendment community. So they launched a multi-pronged attack against various things like PMFs. Now you can call it PMFRs, which is privately manufactured frames and receivers. I myself just prefer PMFs, so when you hear me talk about it, when I say PMFs, I'm talking about not just privately manufactured firearms, I'm talking about privately manufactured firearms and receivers, just I don't like the way PMFR sounds. So, then the auto key card. Obviously, we all know about that one because you're subscribed to this channel. Don't forget about solvent traps. And then we have the hammer against FFLs. So they get the green light to go in there. And if there's any sort of clerical error, drop the hammer on the FFL, take away their FFL and say that they're violating XYZ. The whole plan was to break the Second Amendment community once and for all. So now that the stage set, there's something you need to remember. And that is, if you'd like to help support the channel directly, the best way to do that is shop it at onlytacticalfans.shopify.com, where I have really cool merchandise that helps fund this whole project because I'm permanently demonetized from YouTube. I even just recently got MREs on there. I'm working on adding some more products, and we're just going to expand the store until it's basically like Costco, but for freedom-loving Americans. Now the funny part is, as you guys already know, because you're awesome, all this blows up in the ATF's face. The ATF going full commie, coming after the Second Amendment community, plus then you had the lockdowns, and then you had the riots. More people actually became pro-Second Amendment because of all this. So it actually strengthened the Second Amendment community by putting the vice on us. But that doesn't ease the real damage that was really done, because a lot of people got hurt. I mean, I went to prison, plenty of FFLs got shut down, and that's what this whole video is going to be about, is talking about that. And there's a case going on right now that you very well may have heard of, and it definitely affects you, even if you don't live in Pennsylvania. And obviously, since I said it, it's out of Pennsylvania. So, even though, like, I live in Wisconsin, now it doesn't affect me right now because I'm still a convicted felon, but when I win my appeal, it very well could. Quick note on sources. So all this information is coming from a Facebook post from Joshua Price. He's the attorney on this case right now. He made a Facebook post. I wound up getting it sent to me, and that's what started this whole case. So understand, I'm not like trying to throw shade on anyone or not trying to upset anyone, because all these guys are in my back door. We're all in the Second Amendment fight together. I'm just reporting on the news and the facts as far as I know them. Right now, as of January 2026, a major Second Amendment protection that has been in place literally for 6 years is at risk of being lifted right now. So what am I talking about, you may be asking? We are talking about a preliminary injunction that blocks law enforcement from enforcing Pennsylvania's PMF rules. Their policy is basically like, hey, unfinished receivers, 80%ers, we're going to just label everything we want as a firearm. And basically, you're going to have to go through and you're going to have to get these serialized and you're going to have to do special paperwork. You're going to have to do all this crap, right? So this came into play in late December 2019. The Attorney General announced that, hey, this is illegal. And like I just said, he was basically like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to make illegal, but the anti-gun commies were like, hey, make this illegal. So I'm going to go in there and I'm just going to say that potential firearms, things that they're not firearms yet. Yeah, we only regulate firearms, but potential firearms now, well, we're going to stick our little greasy, little slimy fingers into transfers, and you got to get those registered. So it's up to you to determine what is or isn't a firearm, and if you're wrong, well, now you're looking at felony charges. So that's what we're looking at here. Realistically, a lot of gun owners just called it a backdoor registry because they're trying to make it so every firearm has a serial number attached to it. And why do you want a serial number attached to every firearm? Because it doesn't prevent crime, and that would be to know where all the firearms are, so when you want to come and take them, you can be like, oh, go there, 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 there. So, December 20th, 2019, lawsuit hits Firearms Policy Coalition, Landmark Firearms, U.S. Rifles, Polymer 80, they all challenge this, right? They get an emergency preliminary injunction basically freezing this thing. January 31st, 2020, court grants a preliminary injunction. Which brings us to right now, January 2026. A recent update from Price basically says that, hey, it's looking like they're going to dissolve this soon. Yes, it was, in fact, at one point in time looking like the judges were ready to dismiss this case and get rid of this whole PMF thing, this craziness, but they agreed to allow FPC to file more reliefs. And they set up a timeline. The problem is FPC seems to not be committed to fighting this case right now. If this case is not actively prosecuted, the courts can lift the injunction, which basically, yeah, we're right back to where we started. They could also dismiss it outright, but chances are they just lift the injunction and then, well, you can start the whole process over again, or, you know, just let it be. And if that injunction gets lifted, well, now in Pennsylvania, PMFs are on the chopping block again. And this is how hard-fought Second Amendment protections can just slip away. When momentum stalls, political shifts happen, it puts us at risk. And here's why we really don't want cases like this, or this particular case, to go up to SCOTUS. See, 80% receivers have already went to the Supreme Court in VanDerStok. That challenged, and it failed. Last March, in a 7-2 decision, the court upheld the ATF's expansion of the rule, what counts as a firearm. And that's a huge problem. This included a lot of unfinished frames and receivers, more specifically targeting frames and receivers kits. From what I gathered from it, if you have this almost frame and you have these tools and the intent is clear that you're going to manufacture a firearm, they're basically like, well, ATF, at that point, you can just go ahead and arrest these people for having a firearm. Yeah, it's not a firearm. The tools ain't a firearm. The receiver ain't a firearm. The jig ain't a firearm. But they're saying the sum of the whole total is a firearm. Now, with the Pennsylvania case, they're popping the bubble back even farther. So if that went in front of the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court was like, hey, now those are considered a firearm, yeah, we all know that's unenforceable. You can't enforce something like that because where's the line then? What isn't a firearm, but that doesn't change the fact that we'll have 10 to 30 years of trying to figure out what isn't a firearm. And this can have just a ripple down effect. We could be looking at regulation on 3D printers. You could have to get a special license to have a 3D printer because of the potential of making a firearm. We could even look at some raw materials or partial firearms being regulated. You don't know where it's going to go because you don't know what the Supreme Court's going to say, and they've already tilted their hand saying that, hey, we basically consider unfinished firearms a firearm depending on if we can see intent or not. So, if I have a 3D printer and they can prove that I have intent of making a firearm, maybe I watch YouTube firearms videos, or maybe I pull up firearms, you fill in the blank, XYZ, right? Well, now they could be like, oh, this is a firearms manufacturer right here. He manufactured an own firearm, it's unserialized, that's illegal. Or they could say that the data transfer is illegal. You just don't know. The point is, we don't want this to go up to the Supreme Court. We want to keep it localized in Pennsylvania and just limit the scope of what kind of damage can actually be caused. So it's important to keep this case moving forward. And another example of a hard-fought Second Amendment victory that can be slipping away out of our fingers was the whole NFA tax. We were in a position to where it was looking like we were going to have silencers and various items taken off of the NFA. That didn't happen. What happened is they reduced the tax for these items to zero. That sounds great, right? I mean, it sets us up for future lawsuits because now that it's not a tax, we're going to argue that, hey, this isn't a tax, it's a restriction against the Second Amendment. And obviously it says shall not be infringed, so there can't be a restriction against the Second Amendment. And now that it's no longer a tax, it's nothing but a restriction. How are they going to argue that it's anything else? However, should the next administration gets in before we iron all this out, say Democratic administration, who knows? Usually we'll flip really far right and then we'll flip really far left. The next Democratic administration could raise the suppressor tax to $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. They can do whatever they want with just a stroke of a pen. Yeah, it would have been a lot more permanent to actually get these off of the NFA, but we didn't get that. We just got a reduction in tax. A tax is easy to switch a number. Putting something back on the NFA is a little bit more difficult. Both could have been reversed, but the point is, we want to keep cases like this Pennsylvania case right where it's at because we don't want to have the next administration to come in And well, now the ATF's got a green light again, and this case goes on up to the Supreme Court. So Pennsylvania's local state courts are like, no, we've already ruled on a case like this, you guys can't do that. One last thing before I wrap up this video. Price warning is very serious, and it is very realistic. There's nothing incorrect about that. What he's saying is very, very true. However, keep in mind, it could be slightly overreaction. It could be a little bit hyped. It could be he's disgruntled. Maybe he got into a fight with these people. He could be blowing things out of proportion just a little bit. So take this with a grain of salt. Yes, the implications are very real. That doesn't change at all. But FPC's involvement with it may be over-exaggerated or not over-exaggerated. I'm not there. This wasn't an official bulletin. This was literally a Facebook post. So again, take it with a grain of salt. Anyway, appreciate everyone watching my videos and coming out here and supporting me. You guys have really held me up, especially through the whole prison thing. Thank you. I can't say thank you enough. I try to say it in as many of these videos as is possible. Anyways, if you'd like to help support the channel, I have my Cash App right there. You can do donations, but that's only for the extremist supporters. For people that aren't extremist supporters, I have another way. What you can do is go down in the description, bam, down the Amazon affiliate link. Just by clicking on that link, even if you don't buy what that link is for, just clicking on it. And doing the Amazon shopping you were already going to do anyway. I don't kickback for it because you came there off my channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.